Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, the vodcast that features discussions on the topics of film, science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. How you doing there today, Steve? Have you got all the energy pumping through you and all that stuff?
I have, Ben. Hello FiST Chat fans. I am fully charged for today's episode.
Oh, fantastic. We're always fully charged. We always have to be, don't we?
We do at FiST Chat.
Absolutely.
The power of the fist.
Exactly. So just a bit of housekeeping as usual. Our website, www.fistchat.com. You can get our Facebook, Twitter and other social media links there. Look up all our back episodes on YouTube, Vimeo and Digicosm TV, and also subscribe to us on iTunes, RSS and Feedburner links that we got there. And check out our weekly blogs. We'll have some more for you this week, so I hope you've enjoyed reading them. Now, we're talking about energy this week, and we've talked about this before, but the reason why we're sort of bringing it up this week is because in recent weeks in Australia, the contentious carbon price or tax, depending on which side of the coin you're sitting on this one, has started in Australia. Now, there's been an emissions trading scheme in Europe. In America, they've just gotten bogged down and gotten nowhere with it. The jury's out as far as how it works here in Australia. I mean, it's only obviously been out for a couple of weeks, and there's been all these reports of doom and gloom and how the economy is just going to go arse up in effect. If you listen to all that talkback radio, anyway. I think it's a good time to sort of review where energy is and what this type of scheme is trying to do, which is to get us off traditional forms of energy into more renewable forms of energy. And a scheme like this is supposed to be designed to encourage people and industry to start using more renewable energy.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's going to encourage individuals to use less energy, which is the thing I'm concerned about. Purely because, slug's the biggest polluters, the dirty coal power stations, and that's fair enough. They've had their day 50 years on. They probably most of them should have been closed down 2 decades ago anyway. But because of the subsidies, individuals apparently won't bear the brunt of the carbon pricing scheme or tax or whatever it is you want to call it. And that's probably not a good thing, because I think that it's really up to us to use less energy rather than just to whinge about the fact that, it costs so much. Anything else that costs a lot, you probably use less of. Having said that, though, before people start throwing stones at me, I think that'll be offset by the fact that, as we've mentioned many times here on FiST Chat before, fossil fuels cannot be as cheap as they have been historically. The prices are going to rise. They're going to force up the prices of everything in transportation, food, everything that relies on fossil fuel inputs. And as a result, we're going to be paying more, and we're going to want to get away from fossil fuels because there will be cheaper alternatives, finally.
Oh, absolutely. But just on the burden on the individual, is this scheme really aimed at the individual in the sense that really industry... Are they targeting industry first because they, in effect, just like by numbers, are producing the most emissions? You can look at the individual sort of sector and you can see that the percentage isn't really anywhere near as high as what industry is. So maybe by starting with industry, that's a good place to start because maybe they can afford it more.
Oh, yeah, look, absolutely. I certainly don't... want people to pay more for their energy. I'm one of those people that will be. So I'm not trying to jack up the price, and I'm not saying that anyone who wants to use a lot of power is evil either. By the way, and on that, the big polluters, it's not really their fault because the way the system has gone. There hasn't been that investment. There hasn't been that the impetus for investment to clean these things up. This tax or whatever it is, I don't know how best to describe it, is trying to encourage the big polluters to change, and it's trying not to burden the individual. But on that, Ben, in the last 40 years, not only has there been a huge increase in the number of households, But the average household consumption of energy has gone up in the region of 50%.
Yeah.
Now, that's the sort of thing that, sure, industry uses 80% of all the energy,
Yeah.
but, we're not talking about an insignificant growth that's being put into the grid by the individual who wants to or needs to charge their smartphone every day.
Well, not just smartphones, iPads, laptops, computers,
that's what I'm getting at.
Plasma TVs, you name it.
If every Australian bought themselves just one LCD picture frame, Ben,
yeah,
we would need to build a new medium-sized power station just for that. And they're the things that people aren't aware of. And people aren't slowing down in their consumption. This is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It makes sense to I guess, try and encourage those using brown coal to move to more efficient means. But at the same time, there's got to be some sort of trigger to encourage us to use less energy, and at the same time to increase the efficiency of the items that we're using.
And that's where finance sort of based incentives come in. You tax someone if you want them to stop doing something. It's the old taxes on cigarettes or any sort of substance where you want to disencourage people. Disencourage, if that's a word.
Well, yeah, exactly. Discourage might be the word you're looking for.
Yeah, that's right.
But what's interesting on that, Ben, is that They keep on saying the economy will be ruined, with this tax, or, if there's any change from a fossil fuel-based economy. And yet, no government has hesitated jacking up the price of water or slugging us for water tax. And let me tell you, without water, we'll go quicker than we will without an economy. So I'll leave it there for the FiST Chat fans to tweet us and let us know what they think.
Absolutely. We've spoken about baseload power before, and there was an article that was in The Age recently, where a prominent, a former chief scientist at Adelaide University, Barry Brook, he was suggesting that, Robin Batterman, he said.
Yeah, Robin Batterman.
He was basically saying that nuclear power should be an option, and or it should be seriously considered as an alternative, especially if renewable energy doesn't sort of pick up steam in the market, because it's really, I think we might have discussed this before, but it really is one of the very few viable alternatives for baseload power.
Yeah, look, absolutely, and I think the important thing is that it's seriously considered. Whether as a country, for instance, Australia, and to the rest of the world out there, FiST Chat fans around the world, Australia's basically got a no nukes policy, so we've got no weapons, no nuclear power, but we've got plenty of uranium which we're digging up and giving to the rest of the world.
Or selling to the rest of the world to prop up our economy.
Yeah, well, exactly. But the thing is that we've never had a serious debate about nuclear power. It's just been a no. It's a no-go, no-do, no-nothing. And I think that, we need to have a mature debate about it, really, because we could well be shooting ourselves in the foot by not looking into it.
It seems to have been a lot of advances here too. Something that also was mentioned in the article was that they've been able to reduce the half-life of the waste by a significant amount, from the sound of it.
Yeah, well, it's like old coal-fired stations, Ben. The new modern plants are a lot more efficient, a lot less dirty than the 50-year-old plants. And Australia has some of the dirtiest plants in the world because they're 50 years old. They haven't been upgraded. They haven't been modernised.
Yeah.
Nuclear today, if you put in a brand new nuclear plant, we're not talking about like the dodgy ones even from the 70s, which the Japanese are still running. These are brand new plants, very different. The great thing is they'll sit straight onto the coal-fired sites now. You can build them straight up. So there could be advantages there. They're certainly worth thinking about in terms of providing baseload power. Otherwise, who's going to turn off their iPad?
Well, no one. I mean, we can't get through FiST Chat without an iPad, can we? Exactly.
And as I say, these are the things, who's turning off their heaters this winter?
Yeah.
Turn off your air conditioners in summer.
Nah, not a good option, is it?
Not a good option. So, we really need to think about these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly to wrap up our main topic, it was just another interesting article that feeds into energy and air batteries, and how it could promise a lot more in terms of longevity, in terms of how long they last. Provides 3 to 5 times as much energy as a lithium-ion battery, and it could allow a person to talk for a week without charging a cell phone or drive, it says here in miles, 500 miles in a Chevy Volt. So that's got to be a good advance, doesn't it?
Oh, that's a huge, huge advance. And the interesting thing about these particular batteries, or the advances in battery technologies, even 20 years ago, batteries were pretty much the double A's you were sticking in toys or a lead acid in your car. The explosion in consumer electronics, everything from your video cameras to your iPads, iPhones, tablets, laptops, you name it, has revolutionized battery technology. The great thing is this is being driven by consumer electronics, but that same technology will allow us to have highly efficient electric cars. The two things that have been missing for electric cars is, one, getting the battery size and weight down, so you don't need a truck to drive around your electric storage unit. And the second is quick charge and holding charge. So I think you'll find that these types of breakthroughs could well see themselves into the areas. And the nice thing would be that when you do charge up your lithium air battery in your car, thanks to the carbon tax, hopefully you'll be getting the cleanest electricity into that battery as possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, we'll draw a line under that, and we'll move on to our news bites now. And we had to, for the film one, it's actually a very tragic story, as most people would be aware of following the news of the shootings in Colorado at the Batman movie screening, and it's absolutely senseless, and of course it throws up the debate again as to whether violence portrayed in art forms like movies influence these types of events. And you can see that there almost could be a way to make an argument that that might be the case, considering that this guy that went around shooting people in that cinema basically was inspired by the Dark Knight, in effect, the movie itself. I mean, you don't know where that kind of sits. This type of person was probably going to do something like this anyway, whether he would have got his inspiration from the movie or whether he would have got it from something else. But it's a very, very disturbing story, and also. And it just throws into question why, sorry to our American viewers if you get offended by what I'm about to say, but, the whole gun control thing. They have a right to bear arms, but if it leads to this sort of thing, is it really worth it?
Yeah, well, Ben, I don't know really what to say about this. He's obviously a very disturbed individual. And I don't know. I think when you see an instance like this and you see a person like this, was it the gun? He's obviously identified somehow with the Batman movies to a point where he's completely lost his mind. I just don't know what you can do with an individual like this, and I don't know what you can do with an environment where individuals like this can arise. And you can't detect things like this, at least I don't think so. I mean...
Yeah, there was no background on this guy that seemed to suggest he was about to do what he was about to do, so...
I mean, there are plenty of people out there with guns who don't go around shooting people, and unfortunately it just seems that it's too easy for those that suddenly decide they want to get hold of them. So maybe that's where the issue lies, but... it's a real problem, and I just hope that our friends in the US can, maybe at least clamp down on ordinary people having military weapons. That's just nuts.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, we'll move on to our science news bite now, and we've got ocean fertilisation experiment stores CO2. German researchers say they had evidence that sowing the ocean with iron particles sucks up and stores carbon dioxide. But it's a little controversial, and it's come under attack from scientists and environmentalists because there's a whole lot of questions that are unanswered as to what it will actually do to the marine life and the ocean itself.
Well, I got some advice. Why don't we do it and see what happens? Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of that sort of experimentation. Just because
scientists really need to kind of have an idea of what's going to happen before they do something, don't they?
And I don't think you can predict something like that. Look, I might take a slightly lighter tack on this one, but I mean, it's like going to Mars and terraforming it. If we could terraform Mars into a planet habitable for humans, should we do it?
Yeah.
It'll be good for humans. If there is no other life on Mars, it'll be good for Mars, maybe. I don't know. Is having humans on your planet a good thing? Or having humans on any planet a good thing? It's these sorts of experiments that once you do, you can't turn them back. And these are the things that I'm most concerned about, just generally. I think it comes down to a number of things when you even look at mining or forestry, and environmental reports say this won't be a big issue, and they're usually quite right. I mean, deep sea drilling for oil is no problem, unless, of course, you have a big explosion and then you pump a whole lot of oil into a natural habitat. It's the unforeseen effects and the risks of what might happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just, probably better just to deal with using a little bit less fossil fuel than dumping a whole lot of iron filings, which are going to have to be mined anyway, into the ocean.
Absolutely. And now just our technology news bite, and coming back to one of our usual suspects here in Microsoft. They've announced their next version of Office. But the most interesting thing about this is that, unlike previous versions, they're looking to offer this as a subscription. And it looks like they're moving into a future where they're not going to be doing the box software. They're not going to be charging, heaps of money. Well, I'm sure they'll be generating heaps of money if they do a subscription. But the idea that you don't have to pay $800 for a copy of Office. I mean, I know there's cheaper versions of it, but you get the idea. It's always been an expensive thing to do. But I haven't quite understood exactly how this works. But it sounds as if, from what I've been hearing, that if they do this subscription model and offer it on the iPad, apparently it somehow circumvents Apple's 30% take. And that could eventually lead to a bust-up between the two of them if Apple doesn't like the way Microsoft's doing it.
I reckon there must be some deal going on. I mean, Microsoft is big. Apple is big.
Yeah. They can shake hands under the table and sort it out, can't they?
Oh, I'm sure they can. And it's good. It's good that they've joined up. And, I mean, you have to remember 20 years ago they were working together quite closely. So
I guess in a sense they always have, really.
Well, they have. They haven't really ever competed. Yeah,
they take pot shots at each other, but, it's really mainly for publicity purposes.
But they do occupy two very distinct niches. So maybe it's a good strategy. I mean, if Apple was to team up with Microsoft, then they've pretty much got a stranglehold on number 3.
Absolutely. Alrighty, that's it for the news bites. Just finally, you got some good news on our good friend Rupert Murdoch, Steve.
Well, I don't know if it's good news, but he's resigned from the newspaper boards in News Corp, which is a bit sad. But I don't know if it's got anything to do with the events over the last year, or maybe the fact that he doesn't think newspapers will be around that much longer. But
and not to mention the fact that he's getting on as well.
He's 81 years of age, I think, and he's just been absolutely fantastic. And I guess if you haven't worked it out, I'm a big fan. So you might not always agree with what he does, but he's certainly done a good job at being a media mogul. And for that, we have to congratulate him.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, that's it, Steve. We're out of time, so thanks again for the chat.
Anytime, tweet us, FiST Chat fans.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's it for this week's episode, so we'll catch you next week.